What if the Chinese discovered America before Columbus? What if history had taken a drastically different path? Imagine a world where the Chinese had sailed across the Pacific Ocean and reached the Americas centuries before Christopher Columbus made his journey in 1492. In this thought-provoking exploration, we'll uncover the ripple effects of such a monumental event. How would the past 5 centuries have unfolded under this alternate narrative? Would our present-day world look entirely different? Let's dive into this fascinating scenario and reimagine the history that could have been. To imagine this alternate timeline, we first need to understand the historical setting. By the early 15th century, the Ming dynasty in China had become a global superpower. Their massive fleets, led by the legendary Admiral Zheng He, were marvels of seafaring technology, equipped with sophisticated navigation tools, advanced ships and organized crews. But what if one of these great expeditions had ventured further east across the vast Pacific, setting foot on the uncharted shores of the Americas? They might have encountered vast territories rich in resources, thriving civilizations like the Aztecs or the Inca, and new opportunities for cultural exchange. Such a crossing, though hypothetical, is entirely plausible given the capabilities of China's naval fleet at the time. Would they have approached the New World with motives of trade and collaboration? Or would they have sought to dominate and exploit, much like Europe later did? This question becomes the cornerstone of our exploration. Now imagine the moment of first contact between Chinese explorers and Native American civilizations. Historical evidence suggests that China's primary motivation for its naval expeditions was not conquest, but trade and diplomacy. Unlike European colonizers, famous for their thirst for territory and wealth, the Chinese might have fostered a collaborative relationship with the indigenous peoples. What about cultural influences? Chinese governance, deeply rooted in Confucian principles, might have impacted the political and social systems of the Americas. Concepts like centralized bureaucracy, ancestor worship, or meritocratic systems may have intertwined with local traditions, shaping an entirely unique cultural landscape. However, we must also acknowledge human nature and historical precedent. Even with peaceful intentions, conflict could have arisen. Misunderstandings, competition over resources, or cultural clashes might have led to power struggles. Would Native American civilizations have retained their autonomy while adopting aspects of Chinese culture? Or would they have faced subjugation under a Chinese hegemony similar to European colonization? This fork in the road is one of the most intriguing aspects to consider. The ripple effects of a Chinese-discovered America would not have remained confined to the Americas and Asia. Europe, on its rising trajectory during the late Middle Ages and Renaissance, would have felt the tremors. The Age of Exploration, which was kick-started by Columbus's voyage in 1492, might have taken a very different path or been entirely delayed. European nations, poised to expand into new territories, would find themselves competing not just amongst each other, but with a vast Chinese trade network, dominating both the Atlantic and the Pacific. Access to New World resources, gold, silver, crops and land, would be heavily contested. The balance of global power could have shifted eastward, with China emerging as the preeminent superpower as early as the 15th and 16th centuries. Furthermore, European exploration was hugely influenced by mercantilism, the search for wealth to fuel growing empires. If China had already secured key trade routes and established settlements in the Americas, European nations might have been forced to negotiate rather than conquer. Trade and cultural exchanges between Europe and China could have accelerated far earlier than they did in reality. This could have resulted in an entirely different global order, with Europe playing a subordinate role in geopolitics for centuries. Looking further into the timeline, how might the world have evolved if China had dominated the relationship with the Americas? The Industrial Revolution, which originated in Europe during the late 18th century, may well have started in East Asia instead. With access to vast resources from the Americas, Chinese technological and industrial developments might have surged far ahead of Europe. Imagine a world where Chinese languages like Mandarin or Cantonese became global lingua francas instead of English or Spanish. Confucian values may have replaced Enlightenment ideals as the philosophical foundation of modern governance. The dynamic blend of Chinese and Native American cultural and technological contributions could have fostered a hybrid civilization, rich in both innovation and tradition. At the same time, we must consider darker possibilities. The treatment of indigenous peoples under Chinese influence is another key question. Would they have been incorporated into the trade networks and cultural fabric of the Chinese Empire, or might they have faced exploitation similar to that seen under European colonial rule? Fast forward to the 21st century. What would a world shaped by early Chinese discovery of the Americas look like? Perhaps the cultural and political dominance of Western Europe and North America would have been replaced by an Eastern-oriented world power with its roots in Chinese-American cooperation. Technological innovation, cultural norms, governance systems, and even our global economic framework might differ drastically. Imagine multinational corporations based in Beijing or Nanjing instead of London or New York. Picture a world where Confucian-style policies dominate international relations, emphasizing hierarchy and harmony over competition and individualism. But is this vision utopian, dystopian, or somewhere in between? That's where your perspectives come into play. As we wrap up this thought experiment, we want to hear from you. Do you think a Chinese-discovered America would have led to a more harmonious world, or would it only have changed who wielded global dominance? Would Chinese and Native American alliances have fostered unprecedented cultural and technological advancements, or are conflicts inevitable regardless of who makes the first contact? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. History, alternate or otherwise, is shaped by perspective and debate, so we value your opinions in imagining this parallel world. If you enjoyed this journey through speculative history, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Together, we'll explore more alternate realities and uncover insights into the historical forces that shaped our world. What if scenario would you like to see next? Leave your suggestions and let's keep the conversation going.